Story 1. The Little Snowflake's Journey. High above the earth, in the quietest corner of a winter cloud, lived a tiny snowflake named Crystal. She wasn't quite ready to fall yet, and she watched her brothers and sisters drift down to the world below, wondering what adventure awaited her. "Don't be afraid," whispered her mother, the north wind, gently. "Every snowflake has a special place to land." Finally, when the moon was full and bright, Crystal felt herself begin to drift downward. She twirled and danced through the night sky, passing sleeping birds nestled in their nests and windows glowing with warm candlelight. She could see Christmas trees twinkling in living rooms and heard the faint sound of carols being sung. As she floated past a small cottage, Crystal noticed a little girl named Emma sitting by her window, watching the snow fall. Emma was making a wish, her eyes closed tight. "I wish for magic this Christmas," Emma whispered. Crystal felt something warm in her heart. She decided right then that Emma's garden would be her special place to land. As dawn broke on Christmas morning, Crystal settled softly on the branch of a small pine tree in Emma's backyard, joining thousands of other snowflakes that had made the same journey. Emma woke early and looked out her window. The world had transformed into a winter wonderland overnight. Every branch, every leaf, every blade of grass sparkled with snow. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. "Magic?" Emma breathed, her eyes wide with wonder, and Crystal smiled, knowing that sometimes the greatest magic is simply being exactly where you're meant to be. She stayed on that branch all winter long, catching the light of the sun and moon, bringing joy to Emma every time she looked outside. When spring came and Crystal finally melted, she returned to the clouds, ready to begin her journey again next winter, carrying with her the warmth of Emma's smile and the knowledge that every snowflake, no matter how small, can bring magic to the world. Story 2. The Quiet Christmas Eve. On a peaceful Christmas Eve in a small village nestled between gentle hills, an old clockmaker named Mr. Winters sat in his shop, finishing the last clock of the season. It was a special clock, with a face painted to look like the night sky, complete with stars and a crescent moon. Mr. Winters worked slowly and carefully, as he always did. He loved the quiet of Christmas Eve, when the village streets were empty and everyone was home with their families. The only sounds were the ticking of his many clocks and the soft crackling of the fire in his workshop. As midnight approached, Mr. Winters heard a small sound at his door. He opened it to find a young fox sitting in the snow, looking up at him with curious eyes. "Well, hello there," Mr. Winters said softly. "Are you lost?" The fox tilted its head, then walked into the warm shop. Mr. Winters smiled and poured a saucer of milk, setting it down by the fire. The fox lapped it up gratefully, then curled up on the hearth rug. "I suppose you need a place to stay tonight," Mr. Winters said. Christmas Eve is for kindness, after all. As the old man returned to his work, he found himself talking to the fox, telling stories of Christmases past, of children who had visited his shop, of clocks he had made and the people who had cherished them. The fox listened, its eyes half closed in contentment. When the clock struck midnight, all the clocks in the shop chimed together, creating a beautiful harmony. The new clock joined in for the first time, its chime the sweetest of all. The fox sat up, its ears perked, listening to the magical sound. Then, as quickly as it had come, the fox stood, walked to the door, and looked back at Mr. Winters with what seemed like gratitude in its eyes. Mr. Winters opened the door, and the fox trotted out into the snowy night, leaving small paw prints that glittered in the moonlight. Mr. Winters watched until the fox disappeared into the forest. He smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart that had nothing to do with the fire. He had given shelter to a creature in need, and in return, he had been given the gift of companionship on a night he usually spent alone. He locked his shop door, put out the fire, and walked home through the silent, snow-covered streets, the sound of his clock's midnight chime still echoing in his memory. It was, he thought, the most perfect Christmas Eve he could remember. And in the forest, the little fox curled up in its den, safe and warm, dreaming of ticking clocks and the kindness of an old man who had shared his fire on the most magical night of the year. Story 3. The Lantern Maker's Gift. In a village where winter nights were long and dark, there lived a lantern maker named Lily who created the most beautiful lanterns anyone had ever seen. She made lanterns shaped like stars, lanterns with colored glass that cast rainbow shadows, and lanterns that chimed softly in the breeze. But this Christmas, Lily was worried. Her grandmother was ill and couldn't leave her bed. Grandmother loved Christmas more than anyone, loved the lights and the joy and the warmth of the season. Lily wanted to bring Christmas to her. Every evening after work, Lily sat by grandmother's bedside, working on a special project. She was creating a lantern unlike any she had made before. It would show grandmother all the beauty of Christmas without her having to leave her room. "What are you making, dear?" Grandmother asked one evening, her voice weak but curious. "A surprise," Lily said with a smile. "You'll see on Christmas Eve." Lily worked through the nights, carefully crafting panels of colored glass, painting tiny scenes of winter wonder, adding small silver bells that would ring with the gentlest movement. She thought of every Christmas memory she and grandmother had shared and tried to capture them all in this one magical lantern. On Christmas Eve, Lily placed the lantern by grandmother's bedside and lit the candle inside. The room transformed. On the walls appeared scenes of snowy forests, children building snowmen, families gathered around Christmas trees, and stars twinkling in a winter sky. The panels slowly rotated, powered by the warmth of the candle, showing scene after scene of Christmas magic. The tiny bells chimed a soft, peaceful melody. Grandmother's eyes filled with tears of joy. "It's beautiful," she whispered. I can see the whole world of Christmas from my bed. It's your world, Lily said softly, taking her grandmother's hand. All our Christmas memories together, and all the magic of the season in one lantern. They sat together, watching the lantern turn, listening to its gentle song. Grandmother told stories of Christmases when she was young, and Lily listened, memorizing every word, knowing these moments were the greatest gift of all. The lantern burned through the night, casting its warm glow, and grandmother slept peacefully, a smile on her face. Lily stayed by her side, watching the patterns of light dance across the ceiling, feeling grateful for this quiet, perfect Christmas Eve with the person she loved most in the world. When morning came, grandmother was stronger, and the village doctor said she was getting better. Some said it was Lily's devoted care. Others said it was the magic of Christmas. But Lily knew it was simply love, captured in colored glass and candlelight, bringing hope and joy exactly when it was needed most. The lantern still turns in grandmother's room every Christmas, a reminder that the greatest gifts come from the heart, and that love can light up even the darkest winter nights.
Story 4. The Pine Tree's Christmas Wish. At the edge of a forest stood a small pine tree who loved to watch the stars. Every night, the little tree would gaze up at the sky, wondering what it would be like to touch those twinkling lights. The little pine tree lived near a village, and every December he would watch as people came to the forest to choose Christmas trees. He watched as his friends and neighbors were carefully cut down and carried away to homes where they would be decorated with lights and ornaments. I wish I could have lights too, the little pine tree sighed. I wish I could sparkle like the stars. But year after year, no one chose the little pine tree. He was too small, or too crooked, or too far from the path. He grew sad, watching the forest grow emptier each Christmas. One Christmas Eve, when the little tree felt lonelier than ever, an old owl landed on his highest branch. "Why so sad, little tree?" the owl asked. "No one wants me," the tree replied. "I'll never have Christmas lights. I'll never sparkle." The owl looked up at the stars. "Look more carefully," she said wisely. That night, as the little pine tree looked up at the stars, something magical happened. It began to snow, and the snowflakes that fell on his branches caught the starlight, making them shimmer and glow. Then, more magical still, hundreds of fireflies emerged from the forest, drawn by something they couldn't explain, and they landed on the little tree's branches, their lights blinking on and off like tiny stars. A deer came by, then a rabbit, then a family of foxes. They gathered around the little tree, seeking shelter from the cold wind. The little tree spread his branches wide, protecting them all, and felt a warmth inside that had nothing to do with the weather. In the village, a young girl named Sophie couldn't sleep. She looked out her window toward the forest and saw an amazing sight. A small tree at the forest's edge, glowing with fireflies and covered in sparkling snow, surrounded by animals, looking more beautiful than any decorated tree she had ever seen. "Look, Mama," Sophie called. "The forest has its own Christmas tree." From that night on, every Christmas Eve, Sophie and her family would walk to the edge of the forest with warm milk for the animals and bird seed for the forest creatures. They would stand quietly, watching the little pine tree glow with nature's own decorations. The little pine tree realized that he didn't need to be cut down and brought inside to be special. He was exactly where he was meant to be, providing shelter for his forest friends, decorated by the snow and stars and fireflies, loved and visited by people who understood that the most magical Christmas trees are sometimes the ones that stay rooted where they grow. And every night, when the little pine tree looked up at the stars, he no longer wished to touch them. He knew that the stars had come down to touch him instead, and that was magic enough for any tree. Story 5. The Little Red Cardinal Song. In a snowy forest, there lived a little red cardinal named Ruby who had the most beautiful voice in the woods. She loved to sing, and her songs brought joy to every creature who heard them. But as winter deepened and Christmas approached, Ruby grew quieter. "Why don't you sing any more?" asked her friend, a gray rabbit named Ash. "It's too cold," Ruby said sadly. "My voice doesn't sound the same when I'm cold." The other forest animals were worried. Christmas wasn't the same without Ruby's beautiful songs. The mice missed her morning melodies. The deer missed her evening lullabies. Even the old oak trees seemed to droop without her music. On Christmas Eve morning, Ash had an idea. He gathered all the forest animals together and whispered his plan. Throughout the day, the animals worked busily, each contributing in their own way. The beavers brought soft moss. The squirrels gathered feathers that birds had shed. The deer found a sheltered spot in the thickest part of the forest where the wind couldn't reach. Together, they built Ruby a cozy nest, the warmest, most comfortable nest any bird had ever had. As the sun began to set on Christmas Eve, Ash led Ruby to the special spot. There, surrounded by all her friends, she found the beautiful nest they had made for her. "We built this for you," Ash said, "because your songs are a gift to all of us, and we wanted to give you a gift in return." Ruby was so moved she couldn't speak. She nestled into the warm nest, feeling the love of her friends surrounding her. And then, without thinking, she began to sing. Her voice rang out clear and sweet, more beautiful than ever before. She sang of friendship and kindness, of cold winter nights and warm hearts, of the magic of giving and the joy of Christmas. Her song floated through the forest, reaching every burrow and den, every nest and hollow. In the village nearby, people stopped what they were doing and listened. "Do you hear that?" they asked each other. "It's the most beautiful Christmas carol we've ever heard." Ruby sang all through Christmas Eve, and her friends sat listening, their hearts full. When midnight came and Ruby finally grew quiet, snow began to fall softly, each flake seeming to dance to the memory of her song. From that Christmas on, Ruby never stopped singing. She had learned that the warmth she needed didn't come from the weather. It came from the love of friends who cared enough to give her what she needed to share her gift with the world. And every Christmas Eve, the forest animals gather around Ruby's cozy nest to hear her special Christmas concert, the most beautiful music in all the land, born from kindness and given back in song. The forest is never silent on Christmas, and those who listen carefully can still hear Ruby's sweet voice floating on the winter wind, reminding everyone that the greatest gifts are the ones we give to help others shine.
If you like these stories and would like more, please like, share, and subscribe, as I'll be creating and posting more stories for everyone to enjoy. Or tell me what type of family stories you would like to hear. Thank you.